Welcome to Sports Tonight Live presents The Cage. Once again, we've got a fantastic show for you this week. We've got UFC on Fuel to talk about this week. Also, we've got Dana White's tussle in the media and also Fedor's last fight. We've got Tony Giles joining us later in the show, so look forward to that. But first, I'm joined by my partner in crime, number 48, Brad Wharton. Brad, how's it going today?
It's not going too bad. It's not going too bad. You know, for once I thought I might have actually worn shinier shoes than you, Brett, but you've outdone me yet.
You're never going to wear shinier shoes than me.
No, I'll learn one day. I'll learn one day.
So big week in MMA. UFC on Fuel was the, I guess, the card that never was.
Yeah, well, I
card that no one saw.
The card that no one saw. Well, yeah, if a tree falls in the woods, is anyone around to hear it? Fortunately, it was saved by an absolutely classic fight between the Korean Zombie and Dustin Poirier.
Yeah.
You know, it's one of those fights that, yeah, people might not have seen it, but they heard about it and they'll go back and watch it. So, you know, for these guys, obviously, they put on a standout show. Yeah. And hopefully now the buzz around that fight will get people watching it. Pretty much like what happened with the Korean Zombies fight against Leonard Garcia back in the WEC. It got such a massive hype about it. People, you know, went looking for the fight. And what do you think about Korean Zombie? I mean, his skill set has changed a bit, hasn't he? I mean, his style's a little bit different than... Yeah, I mean, he got the nickname the Korean Zombie because he was willing to just walk into fights like this, chin up in the air and start swinging, which is great to look at. And, you know, who wasn't entertained by the Leonard Garcia fight? He tried the same thing against George Roop, who's, you know, a reasonably average fighter for the division, and he got knocked out. And that was the point where he said, you know what, I've got these judo skills, I've got these jiu-jitsu skills as well, I'm going to change the style up, I'm going to become a rounded fighter. And to be honest, if he's going to beat guys like Dustin Poirier, he needed that, and that's exactly what we saw from him on Tuesday night. Yeah,
well, I'll tell you, that is so hard to do, to change up your style that way, because you sort of, you know, you sort of get in habits, right? And you know, when I train just kind of from my wrestling background. I just do things that I've been doing since I was a little kid. But to think, right, now I'm not going to wrestle anymore, I'm going to learn a stand-up game, or I'm going to learn a judo game, or I'm going to learn something else, is so hard to get your head in that game. And so, yeah, well done to the Zombie.
I mean, you know, there was still some bad habits. You could see it, you know, a couple of times he got tagged and he just waded in there with his hands up.
Yeah.
Especially in the third round when he was slowing down a little bit, he was taking a lot of nice, crisp, straight punches. Poirier really found his range later in the fight, but eventually, you know, Jung was just a little bit too much for him.
Yeah.
And, you know, Kenny Florian said, as they were showing the replays, everything that Chang Sun-Jung throws is like a finishing move in a video game. It's all flying knees, it's all haymakers, and an absolutely beautiful anaconda choke to finish the fight. Yeah. Absolutely picture perfect. If you've not seen it, go and see it, because it's incredible. I'm a big Korean Zombie fan.
Yeah, I know you are.
Yeah. Bought the T-shirt and everything. So, well, you know, it's an interesting story because he had a very famous T-shirt that Dana White used to wear and got it really famous. Unfortunately, he was ripped off by the clothing company. He never actually saw a cent from all those T-shirts that all the fans bought.
Really?
So he's got a new deal with a new clothing company now. So do yourselves a favour, go and get the shirt. It's equally as awesome as the first one, and it'll be putting some money in Chang Sun-Jung's pocket as well.
Well, just for the principle of the thing, because he's got a new one that he's got to deal with.
Exactly.
If you've got the old one, go buy the new one.
Absolutely. Yeah. I got mine.
Well, there you go.
Bargain, and it's an awesome shirt as well.
Absolutely. So what's next for Korean Zombie?
Well, next for Korean Zombie is Jose Aldo. Dana White's already said it. He tweeted it, not the post-fight press conference. He's actually sick in a hospital bed watching this fight. It's the first time Dana White's missed a fight in 11 years.
Yeah.
But he tweeted after the fight that Korean Zombie will be next in line to face Jose Aldo. You know, there's a bit of kind of a gap at the top of that division at the moment. Obviously, we've got Aldo versus Eric Coach coming up. We've got Hatsu Hiyoki, who's not really well known to the UFC fans yet, although to the hardcores he's kind of number 2 in the division.
Yeah.
But yeah, Korean Zombie's going to be next in line. I say next in line for Jose Aldo. We've got to assume that he's going to beat Eric Coach, but that's going to be a hell of a fight. I don't know if Korean Zombie's going to have enough for him. I think if he stands up like that in front of Jose Aldo,
he's done.
It's not going to end well for him. But you know, Kenny Florian gave Jose Aldo a really good fight by, you know, getting in close, using trips, and controlling him against the cage. If Korean Zombie can maybe do that, who knows?
Yeah, that'll be really good. I look forward to that. How about Cerrone?
Yeah, he looked good again.
Yeah.
You know, I love this guy. I mean, this is a guy, you know, who just comes to fight whatever happens. He likes to fight as often as possible. He's really entertaining to watch. The guy fought Jeremy Stevens, cracking fighter, knockout artist.
Yeah.
And Cerrone just took him to bits.
Yeah.
You know, last time we saw Cerrone, he looked, I don't know, he was outclassed. Let's be honest, he was outclassed by Nate Diaz. And part of me was thinking, wow, maybe this guy's, you know, he's looked good against some weaker opposition, and he's not as good as the hype's leading people to believe. But I think that's more of a statement to how good Nate Diaz is than anything else.
Yeah, exactly.
I think Anthony Pettis versus Donald Cerrone, looking like the next fight for both those guys, that's going to be an absolute tear-up. I can't wait for that one.
Yeah, well, they keep just getting better and better with the UFC. You know, the thing that's I'm loving about the UFC card, particularly the ones on Fuel, and I don't want to call them the lesser cards, but you know what I mean, the smaller profile cards, is that the quality of fights and the skill levels and the skill sets that these guys are bringing to these shows are just fantastic. You know, it's sort of the best of kind of the young up-and-comers.
Yeah.
You never see a boring fight. You never.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, there was one on this card, but well, we won't talk about that. But no, you know, just because you've not heard of a guy doesn't mean he's not good. You know, you can go to an MMA show at, you know, your local sports centre or your local nightclub or wherever, and you can see a good fight between two young, talented guys who've been matched up well. Yeah. And you know, the UFC have got the pick of the young, talented guys. You know, these guys who they're bringing in, who you might think, oh, this guy's 4-0, this guy's 5-0, but he's going to be, you know, one of the top prospects in the world at some point. That's why the UFC picks these guys. George St. Pierre was 4-0 at one point. Anderson Silva was 4-0 at one point. You know, you're seeing guys who are starting out on that journey, and it's going to be really good for fans in sort of 5 years' time when they're seeing guys like the Korean Zombie with a title around his belt, or Dustin Poirier with a title belt around his waist, and they followed the career from, you know, the year dot in the UFC on these small cards. Yeah, no, I agree completely. And, I mean, the thing is, I guess these guys have absolutely nothing to lose, and every one of them is trying to prove a point. So you're going to see, you know, stand-up wars, you're going to see ground wars, you're going to see whatever, but I mean, they are going to leave everything in a cage. Exactly, and what you are seeing as well is guys starting off in the UFC now, and they're getting much more of a chance to develop early. You know, we would previously see maybe 5 years ago, you wouldn't get to the UFC until you had maybe 14, 15 fights on your ledger. Now we're seeing guys with 4 or 5 fights starting in the UFC, and they're earning a wage which will allow them to train full-time, dedicate themselves to fighting from their late teens and early 20s. And you know, we talk about the evolution of mixed martial arts. In 10 years' time, when you've had kids who've been training since they were 18, reaching maturity, we're going to see some absolute monsters. I mean, the fighters of 10 years' time are going to destroy the likes of Anderson Silva and George St. Pierre. I think you're absolutely right. So we talk about the new guard. How about the old guard? Have we got the last fight for the last emperor coming up? Oh, Fedor? Man. I'll be crying a tear when I see Fedor's last fight. I'm the biggest Fedor fan in the world. I maintain that he should have quit probably some time ago. Maybe after the Bigfoot Silva fight, maybe after the Dan Henderson fight. I always said I'd rather him go out after the Henderson loss than stick around beating guys like Ishii and guys who really shouldn't really be in there with him. I mean, Pedro Hizzo is a guy who should have retired about 10 years ago, I think. But, you know, the guy's a legend of the sport, and I think if Fedor's going to go out, fight another legend like Hizzo, it should be a very easy fight for him to win. And then, you know, ride off on your iron horse and do what you've got to do. But for me, Fedor Emelianenko, possibly up to this point, the greatest mixed martial artist who ever lived. I think Anderson Silva's running a close second at the moment, but what that man accomplished is phenomenal and hasn't yet been, you know, equalled in mixed martial arts. Yeah, well, I think it's hard for guys like that. I mean, you get to the top and you retire, and I mean, that's a hard row to hoe. You know, I mean, it's how do you go from, you know, the fan base that he's got? How do you go from walking into a packed arena with everybody screaming your name to you know, I'm just going to give it all up? Yeah, I think for Fedor it's a little bit different because the guy's a very, very simple man. He doesn't have a computer. He doesn't use the internet. He lives in the same village that he lived in as a child. Kind of cut off from the world and cut off from technology. He's a deeply, deeply religious man. He believes, and he said that he feels it's God's will for him to walk away from the sport now. And he'll probably go on to live quite a humble life. You know, this isn't a guy who drives around in a big Mercedes or a big Jaguar. This is a guy who lives in a small house with his wife and kid and just gets on with himself. So I think rather than someone who, you know, maybe like a Chuck Liddell who was, you know, in the limelight in the US, in the party scene, and kind of really didn't walk away when he should have because he was addicted to that spotlight. I think it's going to be a much easier break for someone like Fedor. Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, we'll be looking forward to watching that last fight and see where he goes. Give him a call, see if he'll come on the show. Yeah, I will. We're tight, so I'll just, you know, my Russian's not great, but I'll see what I can do. Yeah. So again, going sort of back the other way, you know, looking at, as you mentioned, Fedor's sort of humble life and the way he lives. I mean, there's a lot of guys out there that live sort of on the other side of the fence. Tom Lawler, is he the most entertaining man in MMA? Quite possibly. Tom Lawler's fantastic. Yeah. You know, the entrances that he does and the weigh-ins. He came out this time paying homage to Genki Sudo. who's a Japanese MMA legend, and he's an artist and a singer and a fashionista and an incredible fighter as well. He did that entrance as a tribute to Buckethead from Guns N' Roses, and it was kind of some weird robot style thing going on. And yeah, Tom Lawler gave us his take on that. But he's done Dan Severn, he's done the Just Bleed guy. That's one that long-time UFC fans will be familiar with. Yeah, fantastic and entertaining character. I mean, he struggled in his last few fights, and it's kind of tough to see someone acting the fool and not backing it up in the cage, but a really emphatic win against Jason McDonald, and he really needed it as well. And, you know, just to put a nice little spin on the story too, the guy came out after the fight and said that he was completely flat broke. He'd not deposited a check in his bank for about 1.5 years before this fight, and he got the $40,000 knockout bonus. So it couldn't have come at a better time for Tom Lawler, and I hope we see him back in the cage soon, doing what he does best, fighting and entertaining.
Well, you know, I love the guys that are entertainers. Speaking of entertainment, there's a bit of entertainment on eBay this week as well, wasn't there, with Vinny Magli's belt?
Yeah. If anyone's got $13,000,
no, it went for. I mean, it all came out later, but the final bid, he took it down when it was at $100,000. Yeah,
yeah. Unfortunately, a lot of those bids were fake. But I was thinking, you know, you're a man who likes a flashy belt. I was surprised that I didn't see B. Freeman as one of the leading bidders.
I'm not really going to go on eBay as B. Freeman, am I?
Good point.
So my bids were stealthy.
Yeah, it's a bit of comedy. Vinny Magalhaes there, obviously trolling M1 to the nth degree.
Yeah.
You know, a bit of a contract dispute with those guys. Not a particularly amicable split. And yeah, from my personal dealings with M1, I can't say I blame him whatsoever.
Yeah.
Go Vinny.
That was really fun. Yeah. Out of time for this section, we got to go to a break. Join us when we come back on Sports Tonight Live presents The Cage. Welcome back to The Cage on Sports Tonight Live. Lots and lots more to talk about today. New Ultimate Fighter announced.
Yeah, the Smashes.
The Smashes.
Yeah, something to do with the cricket rivalry that I know nothing about, because I know nothing about cricket whatsoever.
Me either.
But I'm vaguely aware that there are two countries called England and Australia that play a game called the Ashes every year.
Yeah.
Apparently something to do with an old trophy or something that they won from us years ago and then burnt, and then we went to win the Ashes of the trophy back. Something ridiculous like that. But yeah, some bright spark at the UFC came up with the name The Smashes, and it's UK versus Australia. I think it's a good idea.
Yeah. So it'll be really good. I mean, you know, obviously, you and I sort of living and breathing in UK MMA. It'll be really interesting to see which guys go forward and which guys get on the show, and actually, you know, what they're looking for.
Yeah, I hear half the BAMMA roster is going to be going to the trials.
I'm sure they will.
Which will be interesting. I know our pal Leeroy Barnes has expressed an interest.
Yeah.
Colin Fletcher. If Colin Fletcher can't get on this show, there's something drastically wrong with the people who are producing it, because that guy is incredible. I believe Rob Sinclair will try out again. Yeah, I mean, you know, they've opened it up through about 3 weight classes. They'll only do 2 on the show.
Yeah.
But, you know, they often ask guys to move up or down a weight class just to participate on the show, and it's one of those deal breakers, really. If you know, if you're a lightweight and they ask you to fight a welterweight, you'll probably do it for the exposure. So we should see some good guys on there. To be honest, I don't really know a whole lot about what's going on Australia-wise in terms of, you know, who's going to be applying. I know that they've got a good little scene going on over there in Australia.
Well, they do, and I know the guys from the MMA Clinic have sent Alan Love over there, and he's set up a gym, and you know they've been sort of building their brand out there as well. So I'm sure that the guys, that there will be a contingent of MMA Clinic guys from Australia there.
Yeah, so and you know, this rivalry that I know very little about, it does exist.
Yeah.
And the fact is, you know, the Aussies will love it. They'll love the chance to come and you know, watch some Brits get beaten up, and vice versa.
Yeah.
It's one of those things that, you know, you get the national pride behind it. We got it in the USA versus UK season of The Ultimate Fighter, so I'm looking forward to seeing what comes of this one.
Great. We're joined now on our digital wall with Mick Bower. Hi, Mick, are you there?
All right, mate, how you doing?
Yeah, not bad, not bad. We're just talking about the new UFC, The Smashes, next installment of Ultimate Fighter. What do you think?
Well, it's an intriguing thing. I mean, the US-UK one went off pretty well, but the Ultimate Fighter as a brand, it's been diminishing returns for quite a while now.
Yeah.
And I think they've got to find something to like revitalise it. And like I said, there's a lot of talent in this country. Australia's like really starting to kick off now, really building a scene. I know like over in Western Australia around Perth, there's like, you mentioned Alan Love with the MMA Clinic. There's also a couple of shows around there. Big Dave Keeley went over and fought there a few weeks ago. I got paid to go up to a place called Bunbridge, just south of Perth. Then New South Wales, where the UFC have been selling out in record time for all their shows there. So you'd think that the UK are going to have the edge. But if you remember, when the UK and US faced off, I think it was in Tough 9, wasn't it? There were a lot of allegations from Americans on forums that maybe the teams have been picked to make the UK guys look better, and the weak American team have been picked. You know, I don't subscribe to that, but you know, there were a lot of good guys. You know, Andre Winner, Ross Pearson, Stapes, that caliber of person. And the Americans, you know, you're not telling me that that's the cream of the crop that they put up against them. You know, a few honourable exceptions like Marcus Johnson aside. So we'll see whether, you know, because as we know, people don't get selected necessarily on ability for tough.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. Something else to the table. So it'll be very interesting to see the makeup of the teams from both sides.
Have you got any predictions of any UK guys that you'd like to see on the show, or that you think might make it through, given that they're looking at sort of a total package and it's a television show?
Yeah, well, it's hard to say because, I mean, they're looking for people between 61 and 77.
Yeah.
And whether they're going to shake it up and have 4 different weight classes and like match like sort of IFL M1 style 2 teams, or whether they're going to go as they usually do and get 2 weight classes and go to the normal format, you don't know. I mean, everybody who's anyone, as far as I can tell, is going down there, and we've got some great characters. Like, I mean, I know that the likes of Danny Mitchell, Jay Finesse, and like Scrap Saville are coming down from Yorkshire.
Yeah.
You know, and like sort of big personalities, great fighters as well. I'm sure they'd be very good. I mean, one logistical problem is the tryouts from the 15th of June in London. That's the day of the weigh-ins for OMAC 14 in Liverpool, which is taking place the day after, which is an absolutely stacked card in those weight classes. We've got like Wayne Murray, like top welterweight headlining, return of Ross Pettis from Sheffield, who's a very, very big character. He'd be amazing in the house. And then at the lightweight, you've got likes of Lawrence Fitzpatrick, Chris Fishgold, Uchi, Shea Walsh. These are the kind of people who built up a record on a reputable show like OMAC, ready to go to the next level. They're exactly the kind of guys you'd want on there. And I believe Chris Zorba, you know, being the big art promoter he is trying to work something out for them guys about weighing in so they can go to London and come back. But those guys, you know, I mean, on that show, you actually see the return of Martin Stapleton, who was like one of the stars of the UK team in that past show. So hopefully they'll be able to get someone sorted out and get some of them guys down on it as well.
Yeah, that's a good point. I didn't realize there was a scheduling conflict there, but yeah, that'll be interesting because you're right. I mean, Chris gets the cream of the crop on his show, so yeah, that'll be really, really interesting to see how that all shakes out.
Yeah, I'd love to see a tough house with Ross Pettifer, Danny Mitchell and Stapes in there. That'd be fantastic. I wouldn't give the Aussies much hope if we can get those lads in.
That's exactly.
No offence, Australia, sorry.
Yeah, that's a grind. So Mick, what else has been going on with you lately?
Oh, same old, you know, taking in a few shows, like, you know, doing my bits of writing and everything. You know, like, I was on the other week talking about my trip to Jordan with Cage Warriors. Yeah. And, like, just looking forward to a, like, great summer of UK MMA.
How did you enjoy Jordan? I did the first Cage Warriors show in Jordan, and the fans there were just amazing.
Okay, well, absolutely unbelievable. But it's like, a good show's a good show, you know, and, like, Cage Warriors put on like fantastic shows, whether they're in London, whether they're in. I mean, the one they've got coming up in Dublin in a couple of weeks, which I'm really looking forward to, is possibly their best ever card, like June the 2nd at Helix in Dublin. That is going to be like absolutely incredible. You know, like sort of. You on your show the other week, you were talking about how Irish crowds react.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're going to be in Dublin. It's going to be like sort of packed house, I should think, with the quality of card. You've got like a heavyweight belt on the line. You've got possibly, like, well, it's the semi-final of their fight. I was going to say it's possibly the best female fight you're going to get in Europe.
Yeah, I agree there.
Rosie Sexton against Ashlyn Daly.
Yeah.
But possibly the winner of that one, fighting Sheila Gaff, is going to be the best. So
that's going to be
it's
incredible.
either the best female fight or the lead up to the best female fight.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I think you're absolutely right. That's a cracking card. Really look forward. May even go over just to watch that one. I don't go to many shows just to watch because I work so many, but that may be one I have to go over to. Yeah, it looks really good.
I mean, talking to Danny Mitchell. I mean, like he's got his own show on like combat sports fighting championship, I believe, at Doncaster Dome on Saturday nights. That's another good homegrown show that's got some good guys on. So there's so much going on. You know, it's just a great time to be an MMA fan in this country.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, I got to ask. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
You know, this year especially for me, it's a year that I've been really proud to be a fan of the UK MMA scene. You know, it's taken a while for us to get where we are, but I think the fact that, you know, the shows we've mentioned already, like OMAC, like Danny Mitchell's show, you've got another Full Contact Contender, which is a big amateur show coming up soon. Everywhere you look, there's big shows every weekend, and you know, it's just booming, and I love it. And I think the UK industry should be really proud of what they're doing at the moment.
Yeah, I agree completely. I agree. We were going to have Andre Jacobs come in. He was going to be in the studio today and had some other responsibilities, so he couldn't make it. But we were going to actually put Brad's job on the line, and they were going to fight for it. Who do you think would win, Andre or Brad?
I'll tell you who'd win. I've got no chance.
Mick, I got to thank you so much for coming on. We really, really appreciate you know, your time today, and we'd love to have you come in, be in the studio, have a proper chat. You're a wealth of knowledge, and we certainly like to talk to guys like you.
Sure, no problem, Brett. Anytime, mate. Thanks.
All right, see you soon.
Mick.
Yeah, cheers. Bye.
Cheers.
So, you think Andre would win, do you?
Yeah, he's a big dude. I'll be honest.
He wasn't going to comment one way or the other.
You know, I give him a good fight, but he's a big dude, and I'm sure he'd flatten me.
Yeah, Mick's a good guy. Like I said, I love having guys like that on the digital wall. Brings such a different aspect to the show.
You know, as I was saying, you know, I'm proud of UK MMA at the moment, what's going on with the fights and everything, but, you know, outside the cage as well, you know, there's a lot of good guys working this industry at the moment.
Yeah.
You know, there's some fantastic journalists, some fantastic photographers, videographers. You know, the UK scene should be proud of itself inside and outside the cage at the moment.
Yeah.
And what a fantastic TV show we've got here.
Well, there you go. Absolutely. And I got to mention also, Dem's done some fantastic videos for the news section of the MTV website.
Yeah,
That's
absolutely.
been brilliant.
Check Dem's movies out. They are fantastic. He's done one on Mishek, he's done one on John Hathaway, he's done a fantastic one on Michael Venom Page, mixing salsa and MMA. Yeah, Dem's a really talented guy, and those movies are fantastic. So mtv.co.uk/MMA, check those out, they're awesome.
Yeah, so hopefully he keeps going with those, and we continue to see more and more and more. Because, yeah, I mean, that's the other thing is, I mean, there's so many personalities, as you say, inside the cage and outside the cage, that I think really, you know, could do with some exposure, because our sport is made up of some really interesting people, and it's I mean, you and I get to sort of interact with fighters and promoters and everybody that makes the world go round in MMA, but a lot of the, you know, sort of casual fans, they don't necessarily get to do that. So.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, there's guys out there like Ben Cartledge, who's someone I respect immensely, a fantastic commentator, fantastic writer. You've got Charlie from Little Red Creative, one of the best photographers in the game. David Leatherby, another fantastically talented photographer. I'm proud to say that I work in an industry with these people, you know, and when you are at work in an industry with people like that who are so talented, it makes you raise your game. And I think that's what we're seeing in the UK scene at the moment. You know, outside the cage, people are raising the game. You know, it's not just a community of bloggers anymore. It's people who are developing into really talented journalists and really talented photographers and videographers, giving the sport the coverage it deserves. And you know, the fighters are obviously doing their bit, and the level of fighting in this country just through the roof at the moment. Yeah,
no, I couldn't agree more. And it's all those sort of bits and pieces around the edges that help the industry and our reputation get bigger.
Yeah,
you know.
I mean, you know, you can have the best fighters in the world, but it doesn't mean the MMA scene is going to grow. I mean, if you go to Eastern European countries, you know, Belarus and Russia, you know, fighting's huge over there. It's part of the way they're brought up. You know, they're brought up with national service, and they do sambo and they wrestle and this, that, and the other. But there's no scene around there. You know, you've got maybe one Russian MMA website, one guy covering Poland and Eastern Europe.
Yeah.
And, you know, there's just no build-up around it. And I think the UK's got a really good mix of people who, you know, aren't journalists who've jumped on the bandwagon, people who've grown up as fans, and they've said, you know what, I've got these skills, I've got this sport that I love, let's stick the two together. And the entire scene, from, you know, the people who are fighting in the cage, the people who are putting the shows on, and then the people, you know, standing on the outside looking in like myself as a journalist.
Yeah.
You know, everyone's kind of come together, and you know, it's great. It's a really good time to be
Yeah.
a fan of
Couldn't
UK
agree
MMA.
more. Couldn't agree more. Out of time for this section. Join us when we come back on Sports Tonight Live presents The Cage. Welcome back to The Cage on Sports Tonight Live. Before the break, we were talking about Dem's documentaries on MTV. There's another really, really interesting documentary coming out called The Fight Church, and they're currently looking for funding. But have you heard anything at all about this film?
I have actually. When our producer mentioned it to me this morning, it didn't ring a bell, but I realised after a while I had actually seen a trailer on it. I'm a big documentary fan, so I'm actually looking forward to it. And obviously, you know, a subject near and dear to our hearts, MMA. It's always good to see the kind of clash of cultures that MMA has sometimes, and I think religion and MMA is a very interesting mix, and I'm really looking forward to seeing the film and seeing what direction they take the movie in.
Well, actually, you're absolutely right, and I've got quite a significant church background myself.
Yeah, yeah.
We'll talk about that. Let's have a look at the VT.
Pastor Freeman.
Yeah, let's have a look at the VT, and then we'll come back and talk about that. So here it is, The Fight Church.
As Christians, if our focus is not on God, we're never really going to understand real power, real strength. In life, there are times where you take shots. Because it's a battle out there. And the enemy is trying to seek and destroy us. He wants to destroy your families. He wants to destroy you personally. That's where the Bible gives you your training. Get inside of it! I love fighting. I do. This weekend we're having a Muay Thai kickboxing event here at the church.
The hope is that through the fight I can create a relationship with the person I'm fighting and extend Christ to him.
Oh, they both got each other. Dear God, thank you for the win. Thank you that he's okay and he's walking. Lord, I pray there's no damage, nothing swells up bad later. In Jesus' name, amen.
At the end of the day, it's about reaching people with the gospel, regardless of your title and regardless of what you need to do to introduce them into a relationship with Jesus Christ.
Punch to the face. Now go for the jump right back.
People may say mixed martial arts is wrong and Jesus told everyone to turn the other cheek and things like that. And I would be really quick to say this probably isn't the church for you.
There are definitely some people who think there's a huge contradiction between fighting and Christianity.
Any serious Christian law is going to say that one of the primary teachings of Christianity is that you love your neighbor as yourself. Can you love your neighbor as yourself and then at the same time knee him in the face as hard as you can?
God said, don't be afraid, don't be discouraged, because I'm your God and I'll be with you wherever you go, all right?
I'm going to go in there and rip this kid's head off.
Personally, I would prefer to have a full MMA competition here at the church, but that is not legal in the state of New York still.
People do not want MMA legalized. It befuddles me why somebody, especially a minister, would say, we have to take this to the next level of violence.
It's not violent at all. This is two participants entering into a ring or a cage saying, we're going to test each other today, and the best man's going to win.
Take the left arm, left arm, left arm. There it is, 30 seconds back, showtime. As I progress in my Christian life, I start to see a conflict there. Is this having a positive impact on my Christianity? I think mixed martial arts and Christian doctrine are incompatible.
The greatest example in Scripture, Jesus was a fighter. That is the type of Jesus that I would want to serve.
People would look at it and say, oh, that's violent, that's not Christian. And I would differ with that thought in that all of life is a fight. Listen to me. Some of my best experiences is getting beat up a little bit. This is a good experience. I don't doubt what we do because I know this is the gifts and the skills God has given me. My prayer is I walk close to Jesus and just do the right thing and let Him take care of the rest.
Fight Church. That looks like a really powerful documentary, I gotta
Yeah,
say.
that looks phenomenal, actually. I'll definitely be chucking them a few quid on Kickstarter. I want to see that finished. So.
So Kickstarter, you can get a hold of them at fightchurchfilm.com.
Yeah.
Fightchurchfilm.com. You can go on, you can donate some money. They're trying to raise additional funds to be able to produce this film. I got to tell you, I can kind of see both sides of that film completely. You know, when I was working in the church, when I was in America, I was a youth pastor, and I worked with lots and lots of kids from all different backgrounds. And at that time, the big thing was skateboard ministry, right? And of course, growing up in California, and you know, I was practically born with a skateboard. But there's a lot of resistance with parents and people in the community of, you know, because skater kids had bad reputation, whatever. But you know, these are the kids that need, you know, church or not, these are the kids that kind of need community, and I think that as I see that, probably the underlying message is very much the same. You know, I mean, MMA, skateboard, football in America, churches have, you know, American football teams, and people don't necessarily think twice about letting their kids get involved in that. MMA, maybe it's just the next logical progression.
Yeah, I mean, look, if you're going to try and speak to kids on any level about anything, whether it's religion, sex, drugs, society, whatever, you've got to do it in a way that's relatable to kids. And let's be honest, kids like MMA these days. You know, kids like American football in America, kids like football over here, and I can certainly see where people are coming from in that respect. I mean, personally, you know, like the guy was saying in the video, love your neighbour like you love yourself. What's the one thing you see at the end of 99% of MMA fights? The two guys, the bell rings, they hug each other.
Sure.
You know? For me, MMA, while it's a sport which is obviously based around, you know, you could call it violence, I don't really see it as a violent sport. I see the competitive aspect of MMA when I look at it.
Yeah.
And obviously there are violent people who compete in MMA. There are violent people who compete in football or tennis or cricket or whatever. But for me, you know, it's not about doing somebody damage. It's not about harming someone. It's not about hating someone. It's about testing your skills. It's about two guys playing a game with each other. It just happens to be a very physical game. So from, you know, my knowledge of Christianity, I personally can't see how MMA contradicts Christianity. I can see how somebody would think that. Obviously, you know, like we saw with the guy in the film there, he doesn't think it's compatible. Personally, I think it is, but you know, I'm not religious, so maybe I'm not the best person to ask.
Well, no, I mean, I think at the end of the day, when you look at, I mean, MMA for the true MMA practitioner, it's all about self-discipline, isn't it?
Yeah.
Christianity for the true hardcore Christian practitioner is all about self-discipline. So I do see where those things come together. I can certainly see, much like, I mean, it's interesting that they also brought in the legalization aspect in New York.
Yeah, Bob Riley there, saying his bit as usual.
Yeah,
the less about him, the better. I could say some profoundly unchristian things about that man, but it's a family show, so.
Well, but it's interesting that they're bringing that in as well, because those are the very people that don't necessarily understand what the sport is. I mean, yeah, people get hurt. Yeah, it's a combat sport, but people get hurt in football. You know, people get hurt in American football. People get hurt in the UK in football. People get hurt in every sporting event.
Mixed martial arts has a better safety record than gymnastics and horse riding. Yeah, cheerleading, exactly. And that's not just, you know, conjecture. That's a fact. You know, it is what it is. There are always people who are going to, you know, look for ways to detract from the sport. You know, there have been religious groups that have called for, you know, mixed martial arts to be sort of sidelined.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
There's been groups that have called for everything to get sidelined.
Yeah, exactly,
I mean,
exactly. You know, there'll always be something which the ills of society can be blamed on, and MMA is probably one of the easier ones for people to have a go at. I mean, you know, what I think about religion is a lot of it's about self-belief and, like you say, self-discipline and leading a disciplined lifestyle, believing in yourself. And I think if you're going to be a mixed martial artist, and you sort of have that, you know, religious background where you have faith in something and you have faith in your own abilities, and whether you think that that's a product of yourself or whether you think they're God-given abilities, that can only be good for you as a mixed martial artist. If you have that genuine spiritual belief in your ability to do something because of, you know, what you believe in, because of the God you believe in, then, you know, that's going to do you well as a mixed martial artist. I mean, you look at Fedor Emelianenko, incredibly profoundly religious man, Orthodox Catholic, George St. Pierre, Anderson Silva. Pretty much every Brazilian fight you're ever going to come across all had, you know, a religious background.
Sure.
It's not something that we have massively in England, I don't think, because we're not a particularly religious country, but in America, it's huge. You know, Matt Hughes, another example, devout Christian, and you know, he's a guy brought up on a farm, very religious family, and he relates religion to everything he's done in MMA. So it obviously works for some people.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, so really, really looking forward to that. One more time, it's fightchurchfilm.com. Go check it out. Have a look at these guys. If you're into it, help them out. They're really, really trying hard to fund this film. So this is one good documentary. Some of the other fantastic documentaries, it just kind of sticks in my head. Smashing Machine, one of my favorite documentaries of all time.
Incredible film.
Yeah.
I mean, Mark Kerr was a guy who was on top when I first sort of seriously started following the UFC. I actually found a bit of European MMA before I found the UFC. I think Ken Shamrock was probably my introduction to the UFC when he started pro wrestling. But yeah, Mark Kerr was one of the first guys I was like, wow, this dude's superhuman. You know, he was one of the first guys who made me believe that, kung fu and karate and everything was not the way to go, and that, I needed to get on the wrestling mat if I was going to do something seriously. And what an incredible story. That guy's, such a tragic life that he went through, and just seeing his kind of rise and fall in that film, incredible, and a great film.
The great thing about that film is as you watch the backstage stuff, and you watch, he's getting ready to fight in Japan, and you see this young, bald-headed kid just smashing into these bags and getting ready for his fight, and you look really close, and who is it? It's Vanderlei Silva.
Yeah,
at 19 years old. And there's all sorts of characters in that film that were, sort of the new breed or the young blood of those days.
Yeah.
And you see that running around in the background of that film. It's brilliant.
There's a fantastic deleted scene on the DVD, actually, of when he brought Rico Rodriguez in to help him train. I think it was for the Pride Grand Prix. And Rico's obviously known for his partying and his wild lifestyle. And he'd gone out the night before and got really drunk and turned up to practice in an absolute state. So they brought Bas Rutten in to spar with Rico, and he basically told Bas to knock him out with a liver kick. So yeah, there's a scene of them sparring, and Bas just wails on him, liver shot, and just completely flattens him. It's fantastic. My other favourite MMA documentary, though, I've got to mention it really quickly, is Choke. The
I love
Gracie
Choke.
one.
Yeah,
one of my favourite films. I have watched. I got it on video cassette, and I watched it until the video cassette wore out, and it's actually free on Google Video now. So if anyone wants to check it out, Google Video, Choke, Rickson Gracie documentary. Fantastic.
Yeah, that's another fantastic. And we had Jens on the other week.
I called him Rickson then. Hickson. I do apologise.
I knew what you meant.
Lord and Master.
We had Jens on the other week, and his documentary as well.
Driven. Yeah. I'm not ashamed to say I was welling up watching that. Yeah. Such an intense, powerful story. I've read his book, so I kind of knew what I was in for. But when you see it coming from the man himself, it's terrifying, the life he's led, and what he's been able to achieve in spite of that is fantastic, and it's a very inspiring film.
Yeah, I agree. We've got to go to break. Before we do, I gotta say, Dem, get busy. There's some fantastic documentaries to be made in the UK. Just want to see it, so get busy. Join us when we come back on Sports Night Live presents The Cage. Welcome back to Sports Night Live presents The Cage. Again, we've got some fantastic things going on in this part of the show. We've got Leeroy Barnes going to join us on the digital wall shortly.
Good stuff.
Love talking to Leeroy.
Can't get enough of Leeroy Barnes.
I wonder if he's going to be calling us from another location in McDonald's, or if he's going to be somewhere else.
Well, that's the thing with Leeroy. You never know. He could pop up anywhere, anytime. So, yeah.
Yeah.
And I believe.
Where in the world? Speaking of Leeroy, there he is. Leeroy, pardon, can I get a Big Mac Barnes?
What's happening? You okay? Yeah, no, I'm not at McDonald's today. You've caught me at home on rare occasion.
How's things?
I'm good. I'm very good. How are you guys?
Yeah, good. Keeping busy.
Not too shabby.
Yeah. Tell us what's going on in the world of Leeroy Barnes and Team Smash these days.
Not much really. Just perfecting the smash. I'm just learning every day and trying to get better for when the call comes for the next fight. Just training and ticking over.
Yeah. Are we going to see? We were talking earlier about the tough tryouts for UK versus Australia. Are we going to see you at the tryouts?
Yeah, I'll probably go down. I think it'll be a push for me to make 77 again now, but for an opportunity like that, you've got to give it a go. It's down the road in London. If you've got a chance of making the weight class, then you'd be stupid not to take an opportunity like that.
Yeah,
there's going to be a lot of UK guys going down there for this trial. I mean, looking at the scene at the moment, are there a couple of guys that you think are probably lock-ins for this show?
Yeah, there's going to be a few guys, especially at welterweight and the lower weights. There's a lot of guys I think are close to getting a call anyway. So, the Ultimate Fighter is a legitimate step for them, and this is the season you want to be on, man. Fighting the Australians, can he even fight? Have they got an MMA gym in Australia? Just one. It'll be like one fight team against the UK.
Yeah, I think that they've got Elvis Sinisek, Tony Bonello, and Chris Haseman. That's the only Australian MMA fighters I can think of at the moment. So, don't know how they're going to put a team together.
Elvis Sinisic's gym versus the whole of the UK.
Yeah. I think they'd be missing a trick if they don't put you on the show, Leroy. I think it's entertainment waiting to happen.
You know what, Leroy? I want to see you fight a boxing kangaroo on The Ultimate Fighter. I think that's the way forward for this show.
Boxing kangaroo? I just jump guillotine.
That's your answer to everything, man.
Yeah, well, it's the squeeze. I've got the squeeze. That's what it is.
So in the meantime, how's your training going? You know, you got working on any new tricks? Just working on the smash?
Yeah, I'm not working on anything new in particular. I'm just trying to get better in every area. I've gone really technical again at the moment. I'm working with Jason Tan and the guys down at the MMA Academy, and just getting my ground game really tight. You know, I think with the Jack Marshman fight, like, I didn't really utilise my stand-up to the best of my ability. I showed him a lot of respect, and I should have gone forward more. And you know, I'd like to utilise my stand-up a bit more in fights, but I think when that starts happening, people are just going to keep taking me down, and you know, I just want to submit people on the floor. So I'm just going to keep getting better and just keep trying to work, and that's it. Just get better every day.
So what does your typical training day look like? Are you training 6 days a week, 5 days a week, more than that, less than that?
No, I'm training 5 days. I'm having 2 days off at the moment. Sometimes I'll do a Saturday, I'll spar on a Saturday, but that's more to help out other guys. I'm still training twice a day. I'm just not at the intensity that I am in fight camp, so everything's more technical. You know, I'm still ticking over cardio wise. I'm just eating a lot more calories, so I'm a bit heavier, but
yeah.
You know, I'm fit. I'm in good shape. So, you know, when I'm just looking forward to fighting again, and you know, showing people my improvements really.
And are there any fights in particular that you're looking for?
I don't know. I just want to fight good guys. You know, ranked guys, preferably above me, and move up and make a few statements really. And there's a guy on Twitter, an American guy. He's called Keith Berry. He's fought in Strike Force and stuff. He was saying he'd like to fight me on Bama once a cheap holiday to the UK. So, you know, bring him over. He said he wants to bang, but whatever, you know. He's an American. He'll try and lie on me and he'll get guillotined.
Again, that's your answer to everything, the guillotine.
Yeah, well, don't put your neck near me because I'll have it, you know. You know, it's not my answer to everything. It's just, you know, if it's there, I'll take it, and that's it.
And how about that famous Leeroy Barnes afro?
I've had it shaped up a little bit.
I see it, yeah.
It was getting a bit out of control, and my girlfriend, she didn't like it. My mum didn't like it. You know, you've got to keep the women in your life happy, so I had to get it shaped up a bit.
You could have just guillotined him and let it grow.
Well, yeah, I double-legged my mum once, and it didn't go down too well, so she didn't speak to me for a while. So,
as long as you've not been double-legging my mum, it's all right.
Yeah.
I'd never dream of it.
So we were talking earlier on, Leroy, about some of the cracking shows we've got coming up in England. You know, just how good the UK scene's been this year. Are there any shows coming up that you're looking forward to, you know, going and watching as a fan?
Oh yeah, there's some great shows. Like I was looking forward to the OMAC show. Some good guys fighting on that. The return of Ross Pettifer. You know, Mike Wharton from the MMA Academy. There's some good guys. You know, Shock and Awe is another one. All the Cage Warriors shows. We've got some awesome shows coming up. You know, I can't wait for the announcement of the next BAMA. Like, I think at the moment the scene's looking really strong, and the quality of guys we've got fighting as well is, you know, 10 times better than it has been. I think everyone's improving, and the matchups, like everyone's trying to match better fights than the next guy, which is good for everyone. Everyone wants to be the best matchmaker as well now, so you're seeing great matchups all the time.
Yeah, and I think you're spot on there. I think that you know, as we were talking about earlier, the scene is just getting so much better every single day, and the quality is just going through the roof.
Yeah, it's a good time. It's a good time to be an MMA fan and be in the MMA business in the UK, I think.
Yeah, I
strength
agree.
to strength.
you know, on the other side, there's so many shows now. Like you can't get to them all either. So you know, you've got so much choice.
Yeah, no, I think you're right there as well. Leeroy, we're going to let you go. Thank you so much for joining us today. Always a pleasure to talk to you. We got to get you down here in studio sometime, so let's work that out.
You know, I'll come in and I'll dance a bit. I'll do something, you know.
Just don't jump guillotine me, please.
That's
I can guillotine Hollywood.
Yeah,
that
you
I'd
can
like
try.
Yeah, well, you know, yeah.
He's an American wrestler. He'll just lie on you, mate.
Yeah. All right, Leeroy, always a pleasure. We'll talk to you soon.
Take it easy, Leeroy.
See you. Bye. Love talking to Leeroy.
What a dude.
Yeah, absolute diamond.
Yeah, I did an interview with Leeroy for Your MMA Magazine issue 2, which is going to be out very, very soon. I think next week or the week after.
Yeah.
One of the most hilarious things I have ever read back, if I do say so myself. So check that one out, definitely.
Oh, good. Yeah, we'll look forward to that. Leeroy's a star. Strike Force, there's some big things coming up. Strike, got so much to talk about.
Yeah, well, we said earlier on the UFC card that no one heard about, and the Strike Force one's really crept up as well. This is the end of the, I was going to say, infamous, shall we say, heavyweight Grand Prix that started in about 1992.
Yeah.
That they've just managed to get finished. Daniel Cormier versus Josh Barnett, one of my favourite MMA fighters. Josh Barnett is like a pro wrestler in an MMA fighter's body. And he's also supremely talented. Daniel Cormier, one of the top up-and-coming heavyweights in the sport. It's going to be an absolute cracking fight.
Yeah, that will be really, really good. Like I said, so much to talk about, but once again, we're out of time. It's kind of nice when we get to just hang out and have a chat. We usually don't get to do that, just the two of us.
No, not in the studio. In the
but I've got a fantastic surprise for you.
Oh, what is this now?
This is the first one ever. New
My goodness.
Hollywood Army design.
My goodness.
Fantastic.
I'm honoured, privileged.
So, Brad, welcome to the new and improved Hollywood Army.
Woo! Reporting for GT.
Yeah. I'll expect you to wear that next time.
I always wear my Hollywood t-shirt.
Next week, we're going to have, again, so much more to talk about. We're going to have some more guests. We got to work on getting Leeroy in the studio. I think it'll be absolutely fantastic.
Absolutely.
And we'll make him dance, and he can demonstrate a guillotine on you.
I've only got a small neck.
Yeah, that's good. So for number 48, Brad Wharton, for me, Bret Hollywood Freeman, it's not go time, but it's time to go. Join us next week right here on Sports Night Live presents The Cage.